Hey everyone, Daniel Vadnal, Fitness FAQs. I want to talk about why a lack of sleep is having a major impact on your ability to build muscle, lose fat, get stronger, and overall well-being. So to start with, let's talk about how just a few hours less sleep each night can have a major impact on your hormonal regulation. So to start with, if you get less than optimal sleep, you're going to have decreased protein synthesis and an upregulated catabolic pathway in terms of muscle anabolism, or the breakdown of muscle tissue to provide energy. This is just inherent when it comes to a lack of sleep. Additionally, you get decreased serum testosterone, lower growth hormone, and increased insulin resistance. So what this basically means, if you're on a calorie surplus and you're training, more of the calorie surplus is going to be put into gaining fat as opposed to building muscle. And if you're on a calorie deficit looking to get leaner and decrease body fat, more of that weight loss is going to come from the breakdown of muscle tissue as opposed to breakdown of fat if you're in a sleep deprived state. So that's a bad thing to start with. This is a point you guys will find interesting. When you're sleep deprived, your appetite itself is naturally upregulated and there's an inherent desire for higher caloric foods. Keep that in mind, guys, that when you are sleep deprived, if everything else is equal in terms of your activity level and your caloric intake, and you're still insanely hungry and your body's seeking that energy from external means to get over that tiredness that you're experiencing, and try and resist that urge as much as possible, because as we've previously discussed, those extra calories are likely just to be laid down as adipose tissue. A nice and easy way to know if you're getting enough sleep is if you can consistently wake up at a similar time each day without the need for an alarm clock. And then other things like if you find that you're consistently lethargic, feeling some sense of depression, if your workouts are suffering as well, if you're constantly yawning, you guys know what the general feelings are associated with sleep. If those are the case, you likely need to reevaluate your sleep schedule and go through an experimentation process of getting more sleep. But if you simply get more sleep, it's going to have such a profound impact on everything else in your life. Let's talk about a few practical tips in terms of getting more sleep on a consistent basis. So number one is make sure that you're waking up within the same 30 to 45 minute window every single day. So if you consistently get up at say 7 o'clock in the morning for work, make sure that you're getting up at either 6:30, 7 or 7:30 on a consistent basis, even on weekends. Because what tends to happen is people can mess up their sleep cycles by excessively waking up late on a weekend, for example, and they spend multiple days throughout the week trying to get themselves reacclimated to that wake up time, and it can be quite problematic when you're trying to catch up on sleep, so to speak, which isn't as beneficial as just being consistent. This is a really important pro tip here, guys. Make sure that when you wake up, you're getting some sunlight when you do wake up. This helps to decrease melatonin, which is responsible for making you sleepy, making you feel lethargic. So just have a reflection to see if that's a part of your normal wake up routine. Implement it in and see how you go. I'm sure that you're likely to feel a lot more alert first thing in the morning, and you're probably not going to need that morning coffee as much if you're less sleep deprived and you're getting that sunlight in the morning. This one's been a major key for me in terms of getting to bed at a sensible time, say around 10:30 at night every night, and that comes down to when you are taking in your caffeine. So I really don't recommend taking caffeine after say midday, because caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours. So if you have a say 200 milligram serving of caffeine by 12 o'clock, at 6 o'clock at night you've still got about 100 milligrams of caffeine circulating throughout your system, and you can imagine how this can have a big impact in terms of if you're having coffee or just caffeine in general at say 3, 4, 5 p.m. and it's really going to have a big impact on your sleep. So I encourage you to have it earlier in the day as opposed to later in the day, because you're much more likely to fall asleep easier and not have your heart racing when you're trying to sleep, and then you get the psychological component of why am I not sleeping, and it could be simply that you're having that caffeine a little bit too late. I highly recommend using the bed simply for restful activities. So simply sleep and sex, that's all you should be doing on the bed. If you're spending a lot of time watching TV, surfing the internet, playing on your phone, you begin to lose the effectiveness of the trigger of the bed for sleep. And this can be a very simple strategy to help you associate sleep with the bed and nothing else. I'm not sure how scientific this is, but we can all relate to at night you tend to get that wave of sleepiness where it lasts for say an hour, and it's highly important that when this sleepy wave hits you that you go to sleep within this period, because you've got about 30 minutes on either side, so about an hour in total, whilst you're feeling that groggy sensation and you're ready to sleep. If you stay up beyond this, it can actually take you about 60 to 90 minutes before you can actually sleep immediately. You guys can probably relate to this in terms of when you've stayed up beyond your tired period, and then you say, okay, I'm going to sleep, and you try and force yourself to go to sleep, and you find that you're twisting and turning for a long period of time. Long story short, when you get sleepy, that sleepy wave hits you, try and get to bed ASAP, and you'll fall asleep quicker, more efficient with your time, and you get a more meaningful sleep. If you want to continue using your phone or your laptop late at night, I highly recommend downloading the program called Flux. This will just make sure that you're not getting as much intense white bright light at night, and it'll just make it that much easier for you to fall asleep. I'm not getting paid for this, I'm not sponsored by them, it's a free application. Thanks guys for watching, thumbs up the video for more sleep and its impact on muscle building, strength and your general well-being. I'll see you next week Friday for more videos.